Ah, so I don't even know how to start this video because I wanted to make sure that I captured my raw thoughts after having beat Gotham Knights. I finally beaten it on PC. I'll eventually go back and beat it on console so that I can make sure I get the experience from both sides. And if I ever wanted to do a review, I'd probably be able to do one and separate both of them and do comparisons, even if that's something that I think is necessary. So Gotham Knights, finally here after all these years of waiting, finally got to play the game, finally got to beat the game, and I can tell you that this is one of the most special games that I've ever played. I cannot imagine how, a game like this ever came into its conceptualization phase. I don't know what all of the process was, but I strongly believe that this game came from a place where its developers and writers and creators and production team have a lot of respect for the characters. Gotham Knights is the original, in my opinion, play dress up superhero, beat bad guys up simulator. I don't think we really have any of this right now in the industry on this scale. And the reason I say on this scale is because you're actually doing this as four superheroes, where each hero is getting some highlight of their core story, their core identity, their character development, in a sense, being represented in a video game by the voice actors that have done the work here to bring them to you. We can rank and we can rate all the different characters. We can kind of like talk about which ones are appealing to us. We can maybe look at personality types and, talk about our favorite knight in terms of their personality or their combat style. All of these things are all wrapped and put together in one video game, and you actually see it all shine. There is not a lot of depth in terms of, say, each individual character that's going to wow you, but it is still available. There is still some level of, complexity for each and everyone. This is what I think the game has been able to accomplish in representing each character in such a way that you can distinctively tell that it is them. And then at some point, you find out that you resonate with your character and you can pretty much enjoy your character or whoever you pick, whichever of the knights. And the game just feels different each time you go away or deviate from it. And you find yourself even playing, this game where you don't want to pick or you don't want to play, what's it called? Favorites, yet you still play favorites anyways, because that's exactly what the game wants you to do. It wants you to, pick favorites and all of this stuff. And looking at the intention behind the game and looking at all of the different cloud, or I would say the shroud of mystery that surrounded the game and even the publicity, it's one of those things where I can almost bet you $1 that all of these people, or at least most of these people who have dogged on this game, are going to be coming back to it immediately. And if you're wondering what the sound is, it's raining, so there's a little bit of thunder and lightning around me, so you're probably going to hear it on this recording. But these are just my raw thoughts about Gotham Knights. The specialness of this game cannot be overstated. The game really does make you feel like you have basically joined into something that is just existing in a very cool space. At the end, the credit scenes are just so impressive. I don't want to spoil it for you, but if you beat the game or when you beat the game, you're going to realize that there's a level of touch that these developers actually put in there, and they basically are showing that, hey man, we're happy that you basically played our game. There is not the weird, perception of disrespect that many of us have been sensing, that have been coming from maybe some developers in the way that they've treated, their video game IPs and their story writing and so on and so forth. This game takes it to an entirely different level. I have a different level of respect for the way this game was put together. Now, yes, it's a AAA company, it's a AAA game. It has its big issues. But right now, I cannot, in good conscience, agree anymore, because I change my mind all the time. And I'm going to keep changing my mind. But I cannot agree right now that this game playing on 30 FPS is a hindrance. The game is just so special. It's just so good. I was driving back home from work today, And I was listening to a video somebody made, and they said they can never play Gotham Knights. The biggest problem is because they said that they're no longer willing to play 30 FPS games anymore. They just bought a PlayStation 5, and they cannot imagine or envision touching this game because it is 30 FPS. Instead, they were going to play Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And I laughed and I said, I don't understand, nor do I know when console players started to sound like a new PC player. That elitism that PC players have been accused of for many years. Many console players now have a way to play 60 FPS, and somehow it's become the new norm and nobody's going to hear anything anymore. I mean, it's your prerogative what frame rate you want to play a game on. I mean, if you decide you want to ever play in anything more than 50 or 60 FPS, then you're probably going to be moving into PC territory. But already the die is cast. The game is already out, and more than likely, from the reports we're seeing from the technical side, we're probably not going to be getting a 60 FPS on console for a while. I mean, if we do, then it's probably something they were working on anyways, and they just didn't have any production time to bring it to, the audience at large. And then, it's going to just show up. But even if it shows up, all it's going to do is just going to enhance the experience by 30 frames, which honestly, it will really make a good and solid difference. Not saying it's not going to make a big difference, but already your experience with this game, whether you played it on 30 FPS or 60 FPS, is going to be remarkable nonetheless. Because I'm saying this not because, I'm just saying it because I played the game on PC. I'm saying this because right now I have at least 16 hours on my Xbox Series X. And that's where I kind of started the game. That's the first place I started. I started out because the console version showed up before the PC version. So I started to grind and just play. And the enjoyment that I was, able to, and this is coming from playing games at 120 FPS, which I can't really tell you the difference between, anywhere from, I don't know, maybe 80 FPS or 90 FPS, which is what Arkham Knight, plays as its max. If you're actually playing on, 2K 1440, that's what I play on now. Apparently, I'm now a 1440p gamer out of nowhere, right? But if you go ahead and you consider all of these different factors, you see that this game is just so solid, and the reviews and the mindset of people that are constantly playing this game right now is just so good that I cannot detract from the enjoyment that people are sensing surrounding the game. The game really has taken a huge shift in terms of the way people have seen it over time. You go to places like, say, Metacritic. Metacritic is a mess. Everybody in Metacritic right now, I don't know who's who. I don't know who's actually, talking realistically about the game. So what we do is, in this community, Gotham Knights has always had somewhat of a small community. I know that because when I started making videos for this game, many people didn't even know the game. They didn't even know what it was. My videos were doing 200, 300, 400 views. At some point, it wasn't until the game started to get close and marketing started to draw in that people started to get ideas. Ooh, that's a heavy rumble. That people started to get ideas as to exactly what this game was probably going to be presenting. So I think the game showed up out of nowhere, and people were expecting this one thing, and they could not necessarily wrap their minds around the fact that this was going to be something else. Because what everybody wanted, or at least what everybody thought they'd be getting, was some level of Arkham in a sense. But the truth is, you didn't get Arkham. What you got was Gotham Knights, an entirely different representation that was here to stay, that was here to basically showcase what another development team was going to be doing. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't care what anybody says. This team, this is their Batman Arkham Asylum. And I think for their first attempt to make a game original to them, where they didn't borrow anything, where they didn't borrow any ideas, where they didn't have to borrow assets to make, because they did borrow assets to make Arkham Origins. I know someone's going to bring that point up, but I hope you listen to this video to the end, because if we want to state the facts, I've been sitting here on these facts for about 2 years. Ben Mattis was the studio director at that time. In an interview, he said, "We're so glad that Rocksteady was able to give us everything we needed." Ooh, that's some heavy rumble. Everything that we needed to be able to set this project up. He said there was not a better starting point for them at that point. That's what he basically said. Okay, Well, now this team has decided that they're going to go ahead and do their own thing. Regardless, they're not going to depend on Rocksteady. They're just going to take the Batman story and tell it from their own perspective. And they showed a lot of respect. This game has more respect for its story and its characters than Batman Arkham Knight. It may not necessarily resonate for many people as, say, a story that's that remarkable. I'm not saying it's a great story or whatever it is. I think it was a good story. Don't get me wrong. I think it was a pretty darn good story. It does have a lot more respect for its characters than, say, Arkham Knight. I came to this game with the misconception that, maybe Tim Drake ought to have been, much more of an older character and maybe, being in a relationship with Barbara and whatever. But that was a construct from the Rocksteady writers. When they dropped Paul Dini from Arkham City and Arkham Asylum, I think. He was one of the, writers there. And you guys know Paul Dini is a boss, is a veteran, man. He wrote a lot of the 1996 animated Batman, or 1990s. I can't remember exactly what year. I think it's 96. Animated series for Batman and animated series for Superman. He wrote a lot of episodes there. He and, some really prolific writers from the DC days. So Arkham City and Arkham Asylum were solid, writings in terms of that, because he was consulted on them. Once they decided to drop a veteran like that, it just showed really that their in-house writing at Rocksteady was probably not up to par to continue that legacy or whatever it is. But here in Gotham Knights, I don't know who they consulted with, but man, if they consulted with somebody that was actually, really, really solid, which we can probably say that they actually did, go ahead and consult some level with Scott Snyder and all the others, but I don't necessarily know who was in studio doing a lot of their, I would say DC Comics or Batman lore consulting to make sure that they stayed within the universe and not necessarily deviate as crazy as they could. The ending could have been better. I can say that for sure. They could have done a better job in the ending. But again, it's their own story that they were telling, and having paid so much respect to the characters, I cannot fault them too much with the direction that they decided to go. Some people are not happy with it. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of comments. I've been seeing a lot of concerns with people saying, this is not something that they should have done, blah, 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 blah. But the reality and the truth of the matter is, however you want to shoot, you want to take it, or however you want to view it, whatever perspective you want to come from, you have to basically give credit that, these folks took a big, huge risk. They could have made any other game. They were trying to make another game. They not only said they didn't want to make an Arkham game, they were trying to make a Suicide Squad game. I think this is what they got canceled. In their studio, they were working on 2 video games, confirmed by Osama Dorias before he left the studio. He confirmed it on a podcast. His voice, not by some leak or whatever. He said it in a podcast. Somebody was interviewing him and said, so, you guys are working on, a DC superhero game. He said, no, 2 DC superhero games. That's when we got wind that there might have been, say, some Superman game or their Damian Wayne game or whatever it was that got canceled within their studios. So coming out of all of that and seeing all of this come to fruition, to me, I say mad respect to the developers. I say mad respect to the people who went through this entire process to get the job done. And the technical issues are still going to plague this game regardless. There's no doubt about that. When you bring out your game and the game has got technical issues, one of the biggest challenges is basically overriding those technical issues at the end of the day. And yes, I have to say, if their game was not ready at some point, then, the publisher pushing that game out should have pretty much not let for the game to come out. But this is a publisher that has done this over time. And so my shock is that people look at this studio and they start yelling at the studio, or maybe calling the studio all kinds of names. I saw a comment saying that this studio is trash. Rocksteady released Arkham Knight on the PC version, frame capped at 30 FPS. No one dared call Rocksteady trash. Maybe some people. So you see, we play favorites in this gaming industry, so I can't take a lot of people seriously. That's why I just keep doing my thing and I don't really bother what anybody sits here and tells me. All these people to me that are saying all this stuff, they have no contextual basis for any of this. This is why I can't be bothered unless we're having the conversation and bringing in the history to it. Because once we bring the history, it really makes everybody look, kind of weird anyways. And so, yes, I hold them accountable for bringing a game to console that was probably not necessarily performant in the best way, but at the same time, it didn't ruin my experience. So how much am I going to sit here and be nitpicky when I actually did enjoy, the gameplay anyways that I got out of that time? So I'm here at midnight and I'm just basically just, speaking whatever it is that comes to mind regarding having played this game. From a story perspective, from a gameplay perspective, from a combat perspective, everything can be appreciated for this game. Another thing too is this strange hiccup. I enjoyed the way the open world is actually represented in this game. I don't know why. Simple, basic, yet has a little air of sophistication to it. I don't know why the developers decided they were going to go with this art style. It's very modular in a weird sense. It doesn't really, strike all the balances of, creative art and visual appeal or whatever it is, but it is visually fine with me. I actually like the way the world is represented. And I know many people are going to say, oh, well, but it doesn't look as good as the Arkham games. So what? Have you never appreciated a different artist before? Have you never seen a different artist actually do their thing? At some point, you got to really look and say, well, okay, maybe this is just another artist just going their own direction, going their own route. And, you go with the flow. That's just a whole different, it's a whole different package. So you just go with, what the artist is able to bring to the table. And I think this, this appreciation really does, it does say a lot, in our society today that for some strange reason, in gaming anyways, everything has got to, in a sense, look a certain way. It's like we forgot that gaming is much more than, looks or visuals. That art style is primarily something that is the identity of the artist. And I think once you understand the art from that perspective, then, you're not going to have too many issues with, how the world may look or how the world may have been, represented or so on and so forth. And I really did enjoy this game. In fact, one crazy thing I kept doing that wouldn't even make me progress was this Mr. Freeze mission. I remember playing this first part so many times. I was sitting here, and I was just driving down the road, how Batgirl drove down the road at the DC fandom, gameplay. And I was trying to, make my way up here and then jump on the rooftop and land just the way they did in that thing. And I just did it over and over again. I did it on console. I went on PC. I did the exact same thing again. And I saved my save files. I'm still going to go back and play it again because I just wanted to just see how this game was going to play. And I was just pleasantly surprised as to how good this game was, in my opinion, how much fun the game was. And I think one big challenge, too, is the price point for a lot of people. And I have to talk about this because, the price point is something that's going to really resonate with some gamers. Some people have said, it's just hard-earned money. They don't know if they want to put it towards this game. I understand. If you don't want to put the hard-earned money towards the game, that's perfectly fine. Just whatever it is you want to spend on the game, put it in a jar somewhere. That money is going to be absolutely worth it when you're finished with this game. If you say you want to pay $20 for it, the one thing you shouldn't do is just don't sit here announcing it like it's, I'm going to pay money. Some people are doing it in a derogatory way. But if you really can only afford to pay $20 for it because you want to buy other games and you don't want to spend all that money on all these games at the same time, then sure, put the $20 in a jar. When you spend that $20, it's going to feel like a very good it's going to feel like $40 because you're going to be getting so much game and so much fun out of it that you're going to be like, man, I could have easily paid $40 for this. If you decide that maybe you want to pay only $40 for it, that's also fine. Put it in a jar somewhere because I think genuinely that the game is really going to provide that amount of fun for you, regardless of where you're playing it. Now, if you haven't played it and you're contemplating, where should I play this? What platform should I play this? I would recommend the PC version at any given rate. There's no doubt about that. The PC version is probably going to be your very best bet. You're able to get good frame, and performance out of it. But if you still are in a place where you're playing on a low-end PC, then there's probably no need to bother. You'll get similar experience to the console version. But if you're wondering and saying, well, is the PC version, is the console version going to really do it for me? Am I really going to have a good time? The answer is very simple. If you want to know, you can come and read almost 1,000 reviews. If you're like me, I'm a bargain shopper. I don't know. Somebody said, are we really arguing over $70? Hey, I get it. Not everybody wants to throw their money at something. Everybody wants to get a good value proposition. So if that's what you want to do, then come do your research yourself. Read 849 total reviews on the Xbox store where they actually have real buyers, people who actually put money to purchase the game. You can sort the reviews. This is how I usually go. I sort my reviews to the lowest ratings first. I start with the 1 star and I confirm it. Let's see what the 1 star people are saying. Devs writing reviews, lies. Okay. I really hoped I would like this game. I came into it hoping it was great atmosphere and vibes, but I spent $70 for pretty much the opposite. Me, personally, waste of money. That's how you do it. This person wrote it in Russian here. Yeah, I mean, I can't read my Russian anymore. You can go into Google Translate and they'll tell you all the reasons that they want or they're thinking that the game is not worth their money. Even opening movie was choppy. Series X, too choppy. Controls feels laggy. FPS look like it ranged from 20 to 24. I don't care about 60 FPS. I'd be happy with a smooth 30 FPS. This is their experience. So you read it all, slow and buggy. This is what they're saying. Crashes. I got 2 crashes in this game. So this person is not lying. This person says, fix this trash. So they're having command issues. Terrible. So you can come here and you can actually dwell on these reviews. And they're honest reviews. They're people who bought them. So yes, grapple with the fact. Jump in and actually embrace the fact that there are people who are having their issues. Then move up to the 2 stars. So why would they give an extra 1 star? Would be good 10 years ago. Game is not even engaging as Arkham Asylum. Graphics are dated. The enemies are the exact same with different skins to represent. Will be fantastic on the 360. I disagree. Enemy types are very, very different. Sure, they'll play the same once you start engaging them, but there are a lot of enemy types. This person has not gotten too far in this game. That's why they said that. Gotham Nightmare. Only 1 save file. Yes, this is another huge critique. They should get you a separate save file because if you decide to start New Game Plus, you're pretty much going to be in a position where you have to overwrite your save file. Now, on console, I don't know why that's a problem because, you can create a second account. I mean, do I need to say that? Right? Worst bat family ever. After you've dodged an attack, they still hit you for big damage. Combat flow is terrible. Gameplay is borefest. Feel robbed of playing $70. Creators of the Arkham series should have made this game. Then it might have been good. This is somebody who's still stuck in Arkham. Return to Arkham. Okay? You come out here and then you do your filtering and then you start going up to the 3 stars and the 4 stars and then you go to the 5 stars. What are 5-star people saying? I'm here. I'm in a 5-star category. You might be in the 1-star category. You might look at the 1-star category and say, yeah, maybe this is not for me. But man, I'm telling you, man, from the 5-star side, this thing looks really good. This game plays and runs and feels great. There are some frame issues though. I played on here, and when I played this Mr. Freeze mission, I think it was somewhere around here. Somewhere when I was in the cave, I got some real serious frame drops. The ice was really, really, really cooling off my Xbox performance like crazy, slowing it down a bit. But I got that performance, spike or lag spike, and I think after that, it wasn't really a big deal. I made my way. I fought Mr. Freeze. I got to just do his mission. I think he was, in my opinion, this fight was one of the better fights to me anyways when it comes to boss fights. The rest of them were just kind of ridiculous. The game's boss fights are actually not great. They're, what are we comparing it to? I'm looking at Elden Ring level boss fights as great boss fights. Those are boss fights that are just majestic. They really show you that, you're a pleb. The bosses are big. They have big, ginormous moves. They have all kinds of different stuff. And, but this ain't it. This is more Assassin's Creed level of boss fight. That's exactly what it is. It looks like Assassin's Creed. Just take away the characters. Just take away the characters and then just see what they're doing. And you just realize it's kind of Assassin's Creed. I played this game and I did not miss Arkham one time. I literally did not miss the Arkham games. I played them a lot, actually, so I play the Arkham games all the time. I mean, I have my footage, and I can tell you the last time I played Arkham was just maybe 24 hours ago or so. So I'm even beating this game, because I just decided to fire up Arkham when I made my video. I made a video here titled, Combat from an Arkham Player's Perspective. And I see a lot of the concerns here talking about, the combat not being really good and all of this stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to engage with that combat the way it's meant to be played, man. The game does have a combat pattern that you must play. If you don't play the game with the combat in mind, you're going to be frustrated, because you're thinking Arkham. Your brain is thinking Arkham or other games. But if you actually wanted to be fair about things, you'd also think about, say, potentially other games that are out there, that don't have the free flow or don't give you a counter button where you actually have to time all kinds of, different moves and attacks to be able to get the best out of things. Jedi Fallen Order, God of War. People are shouting about Ragnarok, yet they're like looking at Gotham Knights and saying like, oh, Gotham Knights combat is not really good. I'm like, what are you talking about? If you're saying that Gotham Knights combat does have a lot more to offer in terms of an RPG, menu, rather than say even Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight is not RPG. It's more, action based, solution based. It's fun as heck. I don't get tired of the thing, but with Gotham Knights, I don't even get tired of Gotham Knights either. But I think that's probably also a personal, experience thing. It's more of a personal preference in a sense. And that way you can pretty much make up your mind as to how it is that, you get to see with the combat and you get to enjoy the combat. So there are different things that you can actually put in mind, things that you can put in perspective when you're actually thinking about how this game runs and how this game plays. And so overall, these are just my raw thoughts. This is just my first set of impressions surrounding this game. And I can tell you that, man, I'm surprisingly delighted at the way this game turned out. I wish it could have actually been able to come out with its 30 FPS much more, and everybody could have been able to maybe not have that one issue that has been a roadblock for a lot of folk out here. I wish that we could have had something like that. But it just happened to be. Sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. And at the end of the day, I think a lot of what this game has had to go through has been really, really unfair. A lot of the reviewers, they are stuck in Arkham. They are literally stuck there. They never left. And you know what's even crazy? A lot of these reviewers, I can guarantee you, probably don't even sit there playing Arkham as much as some of us who actually did grind Arkham. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little tilted by the way they treated this game and not necessarily provide context and separate this game from Arkham, which this game tried its best to separate itself from Arkham. So if they were judging the game based on the game itself, I think a lot of the perception or a lot of their assessments would have been different. And now to talk about the part of, say, grinding, this is one other thing that some people are probably having in their minds as perception, talking about, say, the game having elements of a live service game. You see, in our world today, because of the way live service games have hurt a lot of expectations, I think people hear the word live service and automatically a game that has anything live servicey is an automatic write-off for them. Now, I'm not going to sit here and BS you and tell you, it's the same for me. No. I started out YouTube covering a live service game, The Division. SkillUp started out YouTube covering a live service game. Now, he may be disenfranchised and not like them, but at the end of the day, there are live service games that some of us will play, or probably, if we were to find out or discover them, we'll still play. So not every live service game is bad. Not all of them. Some live service games, they're fine. Some live service games, I don't like them, but the philosophy behind the way they make their money and what they use their money for, I can't argue against it. One example is Fortnite. Can't stand Fortnite, the game as a whole. Its business making model, it's almost, upsetting to me. But what Epic Games does with the Fortnite money that they actually earn is insane. You almost cannot argue when you see it. Every month, they give away at least $300-$400 worth of assets to anybody who wants it. They also give away 2 free games almost every, 2 weeks. Then at the same time, they provide all kinds of different resources for new developers who may or may not want to go into game development. You think about the amount of resources. This is millions of dollars. Let me even give you an example. Millions of dollars worth of assets, animations, and character models. Epic Games gave it away. They closed down one of their video games named Paragon, and they put all those things on their Epic Games store for free. for free. So when you kind of consider it, the live service model is actually, in a sense, or can be useful for some developers who actually can do well with it. Now, I'm not saying Warner Brothers is going to be the best to give a live service game. I'm just saying that when you hear that word, a lot of people throw everything out with the bathwater. Gotham Knights seems like maybe they wanted to make it some kind of a live service game, or maybe not. But it is not a live service game. I think that by itself merits the fact that gamers have had the upper hand in dictating exactly what kinds of games they want. Hence, Gotham Knights never made it into that pitfall. Marvel's Avengers, on the other hand, did not have anybody to stop the ship. They went full head on into the iceberg and broke everything. This game would have been able to easily take on that model with no problems at all. But somehow, it appears that on seeing the Avengers game, or at least on seeing the way players treated Middle-earth Shadow of War with its time saver store, Warner Brothers was like, we're like, man, we probably don't need to touch this right now. And they're still trying to touch it anyways. Look at Harry Potter. Oh, sorry, Hogwarts Legacy. They still have the so-called in-game thing that they're going to be doing where they're like, oh yeah, you can buy things with in-game materials and all that stuff. They're still trying to push those little things here and there. I'm not saying that they're doing any external purchasing, capabilities, but these companies are gung-ho with this business model. They don't want to stop it. And I can see where reviewers will probably favor, a lot of these games that are single-player games more than the live service games. But man, I can tell you, live service games, they keep jobs. That's exactly what it is. They put food on the table for developers all the way out there. And I'm not going to hit on another man's means of making bread, even though the corporations are going to sit there and they're going to eat a bunch of the money. But we see that it benefits the guy that's actually crafting these games, the guy that is crafting you these character models and making sure your game runs fine. So I guess entertainment is probably going to be that give and take between, from gamers and such. Enough of the live service talk, but Gotham Knights is not a live service game. So I think that may have been something that influenced a lot of people as well. Hearing that, it may have, in a sense, been sculptured to be a live service game has probably turned a lot of people off. But it is far from it. And then before I end this whole rant, I want to talk a little bit about the multiplayer. The multiplayer is so much fun. I just, it's a whole different game when you're playing with someone. All the multiplayer that I've actually played, have been on accident. I literally just went in and said, let me just be playing. And I forgot to change my settings. And I had somebody join my session one time. And just the other time, I think it was just a few days ago, I was playing the Clayface mission, or right before I played the Clayface mission, somebody joined my session and just ran around with me for Harley Quinn, actually. We did the Harley Quinn final boss fight, and then we did the entire Clayface thing. And I just enjoyed the entire process. And I was like, man, I cannot imagine playing this with my friends or playing this with people that I actually, would like to play video games with. So this has actually moved me to the place where I'm thinking about getting the game on the PlayStation, even though I don't want to buy any more games on the PlayStation. I'm not happy with Sony at the moment right now. You think about all of that and you see, man, I can't believe this game has actually been able to put in so much work in all of these areas. And right now, it is a very underrated game. I would say in 2022, Gotham Knights is the most underrated game in this year. It's a bold statement, but it is not really a bold statement. It's the underdog. Warner Brothers Montreal not really made a game. Even the Arkham Origins that they made, where they borrowed all that stuff from Rocksteady, is still one of the more underappreciated games. And then they're coming with another game that's an RPG with superheroes, and everybody's expecting maybe an action-filled game. Yeah, this game is an underdog. But it will get its flowers. It will get its flowers. I gotta go to bed, folks. It's gotten late. Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys soon in another one. Peace out.